After news spread throughout the company that the CEO fiancée Sophia Hayes I had once risked my life to save was now marrying her crush in a shotgun wedding, everyone expected me, the abandoned fiancé, to go absolutely insane with rage. But even after their child was born, I never made a scene. Instead, I focused entirely on following up on projects to help the struggling company stay afloat. My ex-fiancée assumed I had finally realized I was nothing more than her corporate workhorse, and with a smug face, she offered, "Seeing as you're smart enough to keep working hard and making money for me and the baby, I'll be generous and let you stay in the company. Consider it your chance to keep taking care of us." It seemed she was flattering herself I wasn't working for her or the kid. I was preparing in advance to take over the company next week. From now on, I would no longer compromise and play the role of her silent, supportive partner behind the scenes. I was going to replace her and become the new CEO. Chapter 1. I had just finished negotiating a deal with a client and stepped out of the conference room when I saw Matteo changing diapers for his and Sophia's baby at my desk. "Assistant Matteo, you're amazing, handling both work and childcare. Once Chairwoman Hayes returns from maternity leave, she absolutely has to promote and give you a raise." Totally. A baby born in the year of the snake is destined to be a little dragon. He's sure to grow up to be someone as outstanding as Assistant Matteo. True pillar of the company. The 5-square-meter office space was packed with project team colleagues. This used to be my private office. Now it was filled with baby supplies and had become Matteo's makeshift nursery at work. Even the awards I had earned for securing major deals were removed from the walls, replaced with daily photos of the baby from birth to the 1-month mark. In reality, there were plenty of vacant rooms in the company due to recent layoffs, but Matteo insisted he'd consulted a feng shui master who claimed my office was the best place for a child's growth. Everyone knew that was a lie Matteo made up just to spite me. Strangely enough, Sophia, who had always prided herself on being rational and scientific, actually believed it. She even demanded that I move to a cramped cubicle next to the restroom, saying it would help block negative energy from affecting her and Matteo's child. Not once did she express any guilt over breaking off our engagement and having a baby with Matteo. Snapping out of my thoughts, I noticed Matteo eyeing the freshly signed contract in my hands with a grin. He came over. "Sorry about this, Director Dean. I've been busy with the baby lately, and Sophia still has a few more days of maternity leave. Thanks so much for taking care of client work in the meantime. I'll be sure to tell Sophia how much you've done." Though he sounded polite, Matteo's right hand sneaked out to snatch the signed contract from my grasp. Since joining the company a year ago, he had taken full advantage of Sophia's favoritism to steal project credit from me time and again. In the past, I tolerated it out of consideration for my relationship with Sophia, but now that she had married him, I had no reason to be patient any longer. I swatted his hand away without hesitation. "Matteo, you already took my fiancée. Now you want to steal the contract I just closed too?" Before Matteo could respond, our co-workers jumped in to defend him. "What do you mean steal, Director Dean? That's really out of line." "Exactly. Assistant Matteo had to give that project to you only because he was too busy taking care of the baby. You lucked out, and now you're acting like you're some hotshot. You're just a lazy leech who stumbled into a win. Who are you to act all self-righteous?" I found it all deeply ironic. Sure, Matteo was the one who brought in the client, but to impress them he had made wild promises over drinks and falsely quoted the budget at only 60% of the original proposal. He won the business, but gave no thought to whether we could actually deliver. In the end, I worked late nights optimizing the tech, and even paid out of pocket to grease the wheels with suppliers just to barely make the project viable. And now he was taking all the credit. Seeing that I wasn't backing down, Matteo kept smiling and said that as long as it benefited the company, it didn't matter who got the credit. But just as no one was looking, he pinched the baby in his arms on purpose. A second later, baby let out a wail and exploded with both pee and poop, splashing it all over me. Even the contract I had just signed was ruined beyond saving. "Oh no, Director Dean, I'm so sorry," Matteo said with mock embarrassment. "It's my first time being a dad. I'm not very experienced." My hand slipped. "Hope you don't mind." Seeing my face darkened, the surrounding colleagues naturally wouldn't miss a chance to suck up to Matteo. They all chimed in. "Ethan, are you seriously getting worked up over a baby who just turned 1 month old? Have some shame. No wonder Sophia called off the engagement with that nasty temper of yours." You're nothing compared to how gentlemanly assistant Mateo is. Hearing them bring up the broken engagement, I couldn't help but laugh coldly. Sophia and I had been together for 7 years, already engaged and preparing for the wedding. But a year ago, her ex Mateo suddenly reappeared. Sophia broke protocol to hire him into the company, and not long after that she rushed to send me overseas on a business trip. By the time I returned, the news was already out. They were getting married because she was pregnant. Gentlemen? No, a beast in human skin was more like it. Still, I had more important things to do than argue with them. Calmly, I pulled a file from the drawer and threw the used diaper Mateo had just deliberately tossed onto my desk straight back at him. My bad. Too many late nights. Must have blurred my vision. Meant to throw it in the trash. Hand slipped. Hope you don't mind. Foul stench immediately wafted from Mateo's expensive suit. His face turned green, but I didn't give anyone a chance to protest. I grabbed the file and walked out, drove straight to the Bureau of Industry and Commerce and handed the document to the clerk. I'd like to register a change in shareholder information. It was the equity transfer agreement Sophia had signed herself 6 months ago, just before I went overseas. She had transferred all of her shares back to me. In truth, I was the original founder of the company. My capital, my tech, my vision, naturally the shares were mine. But years ago, after we made it big, I gave Sophia 51% of the company to thank her for sticking with me through the hard times and to fulfill her dream of being a boss. The overall situation hasn't been good in recent years, and the company was struggling. I decided to reclaim all the shares. I would rather take on the risks alone than see Sophia saddled with debt. I thought it would be a hard conversation. I even prepared a whole set of explanations, afraid she'd suspect I had selfish motives. But when I approached her the day before my flight, she didn't even read the document. Just signed it and kept urging me to hurry and go. At the time, I'd even asked her, "Aren't you afraid I might screw you over?" She only smiled and helped pack my suitcase. "We're getting married soon. We're one family. What's yours is mine." Back then, I really believed she loved me deeply. That very night, I flew out vowing to secure the partnership that could save the company. But when I returned triumphant, Sophia had already married Mateo and had even given birth to a healthy baby boy. Only then did I realize she hadn't signed the papers out of trust. She was already pregnant and in a rush to marry Mateo before I noticed anything. That's why she signed so fast and pushed me to leave. Funny enough, that accident turned out to be a blessing. At least the company was still mine. After verifying the agreement, the clerk asked curiously, "Mr. Dean, for such a major transfer, how come Miss Hayes didn't come with you?" I replied calmly, "She's still on maternity leave." The clerk blinked in surprise, then cheerfully congratulated me on becoming a father, happily processing the share transfer announcement. But I couldn't smile because I wasn't the father of that child, and I wasn't her husband. As I stood there waiting for the approval to go through, lost in thought, my phone rang. It was Sophia. The moment I answered, her angry voice exploded through the line. "So what if Mateo ruined the contract? Just call the client and have them resign it. What's the big deal? Why did you cause a scene at the office and scare the baby?" Before she could finish ranting, the clerk brought over the papers for my signature. "Signature needed, Ethan. It's work hours. Where the hell are you running off to instead of being at the company?" After I signed, I answered her calmly, "Signing a contract." Sophia paused on the other end. Her tone instantly softened. "Well, that's more like it. Seeing as you're working so hard to earn money for me and the baby, I'll be nice and let you stay at the company. You can keep helping take care of us." I barely heard a word she said. My eyes were fixed on the new shareholder registry. I now held 91% of the shares. I was officially the new CEO. A genuine laugh escaped me. Sophia on the other end completely misunderstood. She thought I was moved by her kindness and said, "Look at you all happy. Keep it up, and when I return from the wellness center, I might just give you a promotion and a raise." She chuckled, said a few more things, and hung up. What she didn't know was that in 2 days, once the review period ended, I would officially be the new head of the company. I wondered if she'd still be laughing then. Chapter 2. After successfully reclaiming my company, I felt a huge weight lifted from my shoulders. I went home ahead of schedule, planning to pack my things and completely cut ties with Sophia. But the moment I opened the door, a strong, musty, moldy smell hit me like a slap in the face. Sophia had spent the past few months in the hospital on bed rest, and then moved to a postpartum recovery center after giving birth. Meanwhile, I had been away on business. This place hadn't been lived in or cleaned for nearly half a year. I headed to open the windows for ventilation, but as soon as I stepped into the living room, I tripped over something. Looking down, I realized it was a large picture frame that had been thrown on the floor. I picked it up and saw it was the wedding photo Sophia and I had taken together. Thinking back, after our engagement, it was Sophia who had insisted we do a photo shoot at a studio. She had me try on dozens of suits, never quite satisfied, and spent the entire afternoon before finally picking a white one that she deemed perfect. It wasn't my style at all, but seeing how much effort she put in, I accepted it without complaint. The seriousness in her eyes that day is still etched clearly in my memory. Snapping back to the present, I wiped the dust off the frame, puzzled. That photo had always been hung in the bedroom. Why was it thrown on the living room floor? The moment I stepped into the bedroom, the reason became clear. Above the headboard now hung a different photo, one of Sophia and Matteo on their wedding day. In the picture, Sophia was heavily pregnant, cradled in Matteo's arms, smiling like a girl who had just received the whole world. And the outfits they wore? They were the exact same wedding dress and suit Sophia had spent hours carefully selecting. Only then did it dawn on me. No wonder she had been so picky that day, rejecting every outfit that looked good on me, and finally settling on a white suit that clearly didn't suit me at all. Turns out it was never meant for me. Years of working in the field had tanned my skin from all the sun exposure. Naturally, the pure white suit looked mismatched and awkward on me. But Matteo, always in the office, fair-skinned and soft-spoken, looked like a storybook prince in white. I let out a bitter laugh and turned to pack my luggage. I planned to sell the apartment next. This place was originally a wedding gift from my parents. Now that there was no wedding, there was no need to keep it. Better to sell it and ease the company's cash flow pressure. But the moment I opened the closet, I couldn't help clenching my fists. All of my clothes were gone. In their place were Matteo's shirts, the ones he wore all the time. Without hesitation, I messaged Sophia to demand where my things had gone. About 15 minutes later, Sophia finally replied. Of course, I threw them out. Matteo's rental was too far from the company, so I just let him move in. He has OCD and can't stand your stuff, so I tossed it all. Besides, you bought those things with the salary I paid you. It was my money to begin with. Do I need your permission to deal with my own things? I had to admit Sophia had always had a real talent for twisted logic. When I didn't respond, she sent another. What are you upset over that pile of junk? I heard what happened this morning at the office. If you obediently hand over the project to Matteo, I'll buy you some high-end replacements and even give you a little storage room to rest in. No need. Before she could finish typing, I blocked her on WeChat. Then I called a local junk hauler and told them to come clear everything out of the apartment. I contacted a real estate agent and listed the apartment for sale, then went to a hotel to rest. The next morning, the junk hauler sent me the payment. It wasn't much, just scrap value, 30 cents per kilogram, but I still made a decent amount. That said a lot about how much Sophia doted on Matteo. She'd probably buy him the whole world if she could. Just as I was getting up to shower, Sophia suddenly called me. Ethan, who said you could sell the wedding apartment? Where do you expect Matteo and the baby to live now? And where are his designer suits and gaming console? Where the hell did you throw them? On the other end of the line, Sophia was so furious she was practically gasping for air. I just found it ironic. My belongings could be thrown out like trash, but Matteo's were treated like sacred treasures. I replied flatly, "Oh, so you do remember this was our wedding apartment? Well, since you went and married Matteo, what's the problem with me selling it? As for the stuff inside, I sold it all for scrap." There was silence on the other end. But soon Sophia let out a cold, mocking laugh. "Ethan, do you think selling the apartment is going to stop me? Don't think I don't see through you. You're just trying to play hard to get, pulling petty stunts like this to get my attention. Know your place. You're just a tool I hired to work for me. Don't go fantasizing about things that aren't yours." And with that, she hung up. Almost at the same time, Matteo posted a tweet. It was a photo of him signing a real estate contract at a housing agency with a caption that finally got a place of my own in the city. Matteo was just an assistant at the company with a modest salary. Add to that his spendthrift lifestyle, there was no way he could afford to buy property. Clearly, Sophia had paid for it, buying back the very apartment I'd just listed for sale. And Matteo had deliberately tweeted it to flaunt in front of me. But instead of getting angry, I nearly burst out laughing. Though housing prices had dropped in recent years, I had bought the apartment early on, so I still made a profit. In other words, Sophia had essentially handed over 2 years' worth of the company's earnings right back to me, all for a depreciating piece of property that Matteo now treated like some kind of treasure. To celebrate, I treated myself to a long overdue gourmet meal. Later, the Bureau of Industry and Commerce sent me a text confirming the approval of the shareholding change. Feeling great, I got ready to return to the office and officially take over the company. But the moment I stepped through the door, I ran into Sophia. "What are you doing here? Weren't you?" Before I could finish, Sophia suddenly slapped me across the face, her expression ice cold. Chapter 3. Ethan, as a senior employee, is this how you set an example? Skipping work for 2 straight days. You're a disgrace to the team. I've worked so hard to build this company, not to pay the salary of a slacker like you. Starting tomorrow, your entire year's performance record will be wiped clean. You're no longer a director. Go assist Matteo and learn how to behave. Hearing Sophia announce my punishment, the colleagues nearby didn't even try to hide their schadenfreude. The company wasn't big to begin with, and with Matteo constantly fanning the flames, I'd long become everyone's favorite punching bag. But this whole absenteeism accusation? Complete nonsense. I had applied for a week of business travel last month well in advance and didn't need to clock in at the office. Sophia herself had approved it. Let's be honest, this was just her finding an excuse to vent on my behalf of Matteo. Seeing me stay quiet, Sophia's brows furrowed in irritation. "Ethan, I'm talking to you. Are you deaf? Can't you see the baby's diaper leaked again? Go help Matteo clean it up, unless you want the whole office to reek." Still, I didn't move, because now I was the one who owned this company. Before I could speak, Matteo stepped forward with his usual fake kindness. "Sophia, don't be mad. Brother Ethan probably just overworked himself on his last trip. I'm young and strong. I can handle working and watching the baby at the same time. It's no big deal." But before he could even lift a finger, Sophia stopped him with concern written all over her face. "No need. You've already lost weight these past months helping with the pregnancy and the baby. And now that you've been promoted and have a project to manage, you should focus on your speech. You'll need to present at the product launch soon. For him, if he wants to stay at the company, let him do the grunt work. That'll cure his laziness and show him just how hard you've had it." I stared at the pity in Sophia's eyes toward Matteo and found it nothing short of absurd. Matteo was nothing more than a sweet-talking freeloader. At work, he dumped both his job and the baby onto his sycophants while he hid in his office eating fried chicken and playing video games. And all this time, when the company was struggling, I was the one running around trying to land clients. Even when I got into a car accident, I didn't go to the hospital. I went straight to a client's office to sign a contract. Even the client was impressed by my persistence. But in Sophia's version of events, I was just a lazy mooch living off others' hard work. Love and indifference. The contrast couldn't be more obvious. Coming back to the moment, I stared directly at Sophia and spoke with quiet resolve. I remember the employee manual clearly. Bringing babies to the workplace and disrupting operations is strictly prohibited. And I submitted my business trip application in advance, so I'm not required to clock in. You have no right to penalize me. This was probably the first time in 7 years I had openly opposed Sophia. She was visibly stunned, but quickly recovered with a sneer. "Ethan, fine, you've got my attention, I'll give you that. But you've chosen the wrong way to go about it. I'm the CEO of this company. If I say you skipped work, then you skipped work. As for those projects and client files in your hands, I've already had them backed up. Don't think you're irreplaceable. HR, prepare a termination letter and notify all our partner companies to blacklist him from any future hiring." The HR rep was just about to act when I raised a hand to stop them. "No need. I've already prepared the termination letters." Matteo lit up with joy but tried to put on a sympathetic face. "Ethan, my guy, is this really necessary? How about you apologize to Sophia? She's kind-hearted. Since you did take care of her for a few years, she might be generous enough to give you a job cleaning toilets or unclogging drains." Sophia, seeing me hand over the letter, looked smug enough to tilt her chin to the ceiling. Well, didn't think you were self-aware after all. All right, fine, since you're such a good, obedient little dog, if you're willing to give up." Before she could finish, I cut her off and tossed 2 termination letters right at her. "In Matteo, that's enough. Spare me the nonsense. You two can get out now." Staring at the termination letter in her hand, Sophia froze for a moment, then let out a scoffing laugh. "You're just an employee. What gives you the right to fire me? I smiled calmly and pulled out the shareholder transfer notice. President Hayes, or rather, Miss Hayes, you really are forgetful, aren't you? Take a good look. I'm now the official CEO of this company. As for you and Mateo, due to violating company policy, disrupting the workplace, and unauthorized access to project data, you are both officially terminated, effective immediately. Chapter 4. Seeing the official shareholder change notice in black and white, all color drained from Sophia's face. Her pupils shrank like she had just seen a ghost. She pointed at me in disbelief. Ethan, when did you become the CEO? But almost instantly, it was as if something clicked in her mind. Her expression twisted into a sneer as she suddenly snatched the document from my hand and tore it to shreds. Oh, look at you now, Ethan. Just found some random image online, slapped on a fake stamp, and thought you could scare me? Who do you think you are? Really think you're somebody now? She looked at me like I was a pathetic clown, the corners of her mouth curling into a mocking smirk. Mateo quickly caught on, forcing a worried look onto his face as he stepped forward with fake concern. Ethan, I get that you're upset, but you can't be doing this. Forging corporate documents is a serious crime. You could go to jail. If you really don't want to quit, I can try and talk to Sophia for you. No need to go down such a wrong path. His phony concern stirred up the rest of the onlookers. Yeah, Ethan, are you out of your mind? Do you seriously think you could become CEO? Delusional. He's obviously lost it after being dumped by President Hayes and outshined by VP Mateo. Tisk, he's finished now. Lost his job, and probably heading to jail too. I looked around at their faces, and for a moment I felt a chill in my bones. I had thought they were just misled by Sophia and Mateo, that they'd picked the wrong side out of ignorance. But clearly I'd been too naive. These people were nothing more than spineless opportunists, going wherever the wind blew. No wonder the company had been going downhill with a pack of backstabbing sycophants and bootlickers. How could it not? Parasites. Liabilities. Keeping them around would only be a long-term disaster. My eyes turned cold as I swept my gaze across the chattering crowd. Oh, so it seems some of you are curious what it feels like to be fired too. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried a chill that cut straight to the bone. The same people who had just been mocking me froze up like ducks with their throats grabbed, silent in an instant. Sophia noticed the shift and thought I was just bluffing, trying to challenge her authority. Ethan, are you threatening my employees now? You've really lost your mind. She pulled out her phone and dialed the police. Hello? Yes, officer. I'm calling from XT Tower. There's someone here forging corporate documents, disrupting business operations, and threatening staff. Please send someone immediately. After hanging up, Sophia raised her chin even higher, as if she could already see me being dragged away in handcuffs. Mateo chimed in helpfully. Ethan, if you just apologize to Sophia now, she might soften up. Maybe even write a letter of leniency for you. You won't have to serve too many years. I just watched their performance with Icom saying nothing. Soon 2 uniformed police officers entered. Who made the call? What's going on? The older officer asked sternly. Sophia immediately rushed forward like she'd found her savior, pointing at me with theatrical anger. Officer, it's him. He was fired and he couldn't handle it, so he forged some fake CEO document, caused a huge scene, and threatened to fire other employees. He's seriously disrupting our operations. Please arrest him right away. She threw me a smug glance, eyes full of smug certainty like she'd already won. Ethan, hear that? The police are here. If you kneel now and beg, maybe I'll go easy on you. I could talk to them, write a statement of forgiveness, help you get a shorter sentence. Watching her act like she had everything under control, I almost laughed. Instead, I calmly turned to the officers and handed over my ID and a fresh copy of the official shareholder change notice. Officers, I'm Ethan Dean, the new legal representative and CEO of this company. This is my identification and the legally effective corporate registration change, effective as of today. You can verify it in the government system. I pointed to Sophia and Mateo. As for these two, due to severe violations of company policy and suspicion of stealing confidential business data, they have been officially terminated. The dismissal letters were issued moments ago. They refused to accept the decision, tore up official documents, caused a disturbance, and interfered with our employees' work. The older officer took my ID and document, while the younger one pulled out a police terminal to begin verifying the information. Sophia scoffed. clearly unimpressed. Officer, don't believe a word he says. It's all fake, photoshopped. I'm the real CEO. He's just a disgruntled ex-employee. Seconds later, the younger officer looked up and nodded at his partner. Then he walked over towards Sophia. She started smiling triumphantly, but in the next second the officer pulled out a pair of cold metal handcuffs and with a click locked them around Sophia's wrists. Chapter 5. Sophia was completely stunned, her mind going blank. She looked down at the metal on her wrists, then jerked her head up to stare at the police officer, her face full of disbelief and indignation. "Oh, officer, what are you doing? Why are you cuffing me? You've got the wrong person. It's him, Ethan. He's the one disturbing the peace. You should be arresting him." Mateo panicked too, quickly jumping in to explain. "Officer, this has to be a mistake. Sophia is the company's CEO. We have employees who can testify." The older officer remained expressionless, his tone calm and unwavering. "We've already verified everything." He held up his police tablet, its screen clearly displaying the latest corporate registration details. "According to the official records, Mr. Ethan Dean is now the legal CEO of this company. You two have already been dismissed. You have no business remaining here and causing a disruption in the workplace. Now please come with us to the station. You'll be providing statements regarding your obstruction of business operations and disruption of workplace order." As he spoke, he nodded to the younger officer, promptly placed handcuffs on Mateo, who was still too stunned to react. All around us, the co-workers who had just been sneering at me stood frozen in shock, jaws practically hitting the floor. After a long moment, Sophia suddenly snapped, struggling against the handcuffs and glaring at me like a madwoman. "Ethan, what the hell did you do to me? My company. How the hell did my company become yours? When did you pull this off, you despicable bastard? I'm going to sue you. I'll see you in court."